Well, do we know anything about the construction of the machine itself, how long it was in construction, anything of the nature of it at all? What do we know?
Yeah, we do of it.
All right.
Yeah, we do. Well, we know what Ernetti said anyway, and it was something you know the alley-oop comic strips. I think they're still around. The alley-oop is the caveman who's brought forward to our time by Dr. One Mug in a time machine.
Yeah, yeah.
But a lot of time we're seeing One Mug standing in a little booth looking into a TV screen and watching alley-oop, kind of cavorting several million years ago. And Ernetti, apparently, Ernetti's chronovisor was more of an apparatus that enabled him to see back and hear back through time. He was looking at something like a TV screen, something like earphones, but very complex, like a little bath escape.
This was a machine, though, that used an antenna in receiving light and sound that exist always, that once produced are always essentially there, and you can somehow tune into them, and that would include, I guess, anything from the present until the most distant past.
That seems to be what Ernetti claimed, yeah. We used to talk a lot in both the Akashic records and so forth, and today a lot of his talking about how it's rather quite possible, maybe even probable, that all sound waves, all light waves, kind of produced by us as we live, they are absorbed into the environment around us, and they're there to be accessed if we can figure out how to access them. And there's even a fairly well-known Nobel Prize-winning physicist, I think he's in France now, was maybe born in Romania, who went to Greece and tried to access the memories of the columns of the Acropolis. And this is a very distinguished man, and I don't know how successful he was, but he tried to do this in some way. Could he kind of hear sounds, see things from ancient Greece?
All right. Do you know in what way these things were manifested? I mean, what year was it again that Father Ernetti claimed he did this?
Well, this is in the mid-'50s that he claimed that he did help them. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was, gee whiz, television was a fledgling thing at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Of course, there was TV. It was certainly around. Yeah, it just started, right?
Fledgling. Yes. So, I wonder if it involved any modern technology married with some technology, perhaps very ancient.
Yes, apparently that's exactly what it was. Although I don't know exactly the appropriate word here. Some kind of a combination of quantum physics and astral fluid metaphysics, something. He intimated these things. He kind of dropped hints about the guy had a degree in physics. He did a lot of experimentation. He had this very, very really vast knowledge of very esoteric things having to do, starting with ancient music. He wrote about 100 books in his lifetime.
100 books. All right, but still, there must have been this moment, John, when Father Ernetti had perfected to the degree that he had the chronovisor, and then he must have gone to the Vatican. He must have started upstairs saying, look, I'm a priest, and I have invented a way to look at the past. What does the Vatican want me to do?
Well, likely he did something like that. The last maybe 10, 15 years of his life, he stopped talking about the chronovisor. And Francois Brune, in his first book, and also in a new book that's come out, says he thinks that the Vatican told him to stop talking, and then told him not to tell people that the Vatican had told him to stop talking. But the thing is that one of the reasons why I got so interested is that you begin to think about, something I'm sure you've thought about this for years, the implications of time travel.
Of course.
The power that it would bestow on the possessor, and how power...
Yeah, well, this is not... Yeah, but this is not exactly the H.G. Wells type machine where you actually physically go to the past. It is, nevertheless, a way of bringing the past or verifying the past.
Yes.
And so they went to look at the crucifixion of Christ and reportedly got visual and sound reproduction of the crucifixion of Christ. Is that what you've heard?
I know how improbable that sounds. Ernetti claimed to have gone, well, I guess not seen and heard back. I guess maybe we can put it that way. And to the crucifixion and seen Christ dying on the cross and taken a photo. And at some point, that photo sort of, he didn't release the photo himself. At some point, it kind of got out. The press got a hold of it.
Where is that photo?
It's we've reproduced it in our book.
What?
Yeah.
You reproduced the exact photo?
Yes, we did.
You have that photograph?
Sure. I should.
Oh, John.
I better add that it's after a while it seemed that this was a fraud. It was found that this photo of the face of Christ was a photo of a Christ on a wooden cross, carved on a wooden cross in a small church in central Italy. So it looked like fraud. And so Father Brun, Francois Brun, of course, who would see Ernetti periodically, put it to him and said, who couldn't believe that this very accomplished man would have to do something fraudulent. Put it to him and said, what happened? And Ernetti had an explanation for it, a very kind of ingenuous explanation that Ernetti claimed that the I don't know if I get the details right. It's in our book. Ernetti claimed that the wooden statue, the carving, the artist who did it had been inspired by a nun who had mystical visions, and it had the mystical visions of the crucifixion of Christ. So Ernetti kind of said, well, his vision, what he carved was the result of inspiration because of a vision from somebody who herself also had the ability to go back and see.
All right. Hold on. We're at the top of the hour, and we'll be right back. John Chambers is my guest. A time machine in the Vatican's hands. What do you think?
I've been where the eagle flies, rode his wings across autumn skies, kissed the sun, touched the moon, but he left me much too soon, his lady girl. He left his lady girl.
Back now to my guest, John Chambers. So glad that we found you, John. All right, so he allegedly, nevertheless, photographed the crucifixion of Christ, but that wasn't all they allegedly did with it, is it?
He claimed to have gone a little farther back to Rome in 169 B.C., as I think you read earlier, and to have watched a tragedy, a play that it's lost to antiquity, but we know of it. It's called Thyestes by a guy named Quintus Ennius, and Ernetti claimed to have, I guess, jotted down a bunch of the dialogue of this play to have come back or to have retrieved using his chronovisor a fragment of this play.
As proof, I guess, huh?
Yeah, and we were very fortunate. I made contact with Francois Brun while we were putting the book together, and he was good enough to send me the fragment, a copy of the fragment in Latin. Of course, we got a Princeton professor, PhD in classics, to translate it for us and to write a commentary. That's in our book too. It's really extremely interesting.
Okay, and your book again is called Father Ernetti's Chronovisor: The Creation and Disappearance of the World's First Time Machine.
I don't know what to say. Also, I'd like to add one thing before I forget, and that is that he claimed at one point that they saw a little bit into the future, just far enough to see a bank robbery taking place.
That was going to be my next question. Could it go to the future?
Yeah, well, apparently he says that once they did look a little bit into the future, saw a bank robbery taking place, and were able to call the police in the present and have it prevented, which just kind of reminds you a bit of this new movie with Tom Cruise, Minority Report.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. That's the... and of course, I didn't see all that movie, just part of it, but there you see that this ability that these police have to look a little bit into the future and arrest people for murder before they murder, that ability has corrupted the police force absolutely, and that power has corrupted them. And perhaps I think Francois Brun feels perhaps the Vatican is holding something, maybe not the chronovisor, but maybe the plans for it,
all right,
because they're afraid people will be corrupted by it.
All right, that may well be, but let's, for a second, imagine the Vatican actually has a photograph of the crucifixion. Now, if they really have that, I guess I'm trying to imagine why they would suppress it, because it would give so many people religion. But the answer must be that in order to release that, they would have to release, I suppose, total information on how they got it, wouldn't they?
Well, and they also might be afraid that something like a chronovisor would prove that the kind of standard Catholic, standard Catholic version of what took place was not quite true. I think they were maybe a little afraid that they've distorted, things have been distorted through the centuries, and yet they, of course, pass down, give us so much as black and white doctrine, dogma.
Okay, well, Father Ernetti warned that, and I'm quoting here, the machine can produce universal tragedy. What do you imagine he might have meant by that?
I think he really think he meant that bad guys could get a hold of such a machine and run the world and ruin the world. I think he meant that, and it seems to me that's a real probability. That's one of the things that makes this story, Ernetti's story, kind of, I wouldn't say convincing, but makes me think a lot about it.
Okay, well, so then the ability to look into the past or look into the future, surely that could easily be used, particularly a glance into the future, to affect world events, and that almost gets us to the big problem with all time travel.
And the past, maybe.
Well, if you were to even, you always worry about altering the past, but if you were to alter the future, there could be equally dire consequences, one might imagine, for doing such a thing, for changing the future.